Quickly, Ivan had returned home the previous night to find his foster parents soundly asleep. He had been glad to find them so, and it gave him a confidence about sneaking out that he felt he had been lacking for most of his young life. He'd hidden the cube beneath his bed and under some sheets so that its shine wouldn't illuminate anyone to its whereabouts. It was a mysterious object to Ivan, naturally, and he felt that he needed to protect it. After all, if it had truly shown him where his parents were last night, what else could it do? Ivan didn't sleep that night, but that was normal, and he was very used to functioning with little sleep. Besides, it was a Sunday and his parents weren't particularly religious, so there would be nothing to do for the rest of the day except figure out the cube, of course. He had to do that, if he could get away from his parents. Ivan called Esmeralda. "Breakfast, dear." Ivan hurried downstairs. He knew that if he didn't, James would be upset with him. They never punished him too harshly, but every once in a while they did spank him. Hard, too. Ivan hated that, but he didn't hate his foster parents, though maybe he felt that he had reasons to. He just never thought it justified, and he had a bit of a guilty conscience. Ivan was a good, curious kid, and he wanted to finish his breakfast as soon as possible in order to further investigate that glorious object, the cube. He was really hyping himself up for it, too, and ate astoundingly fast. James even made a comment about it. "Slow down there, son," he said, grinning. "We don't want you to throw up." Ivan shook his head. "No, I won't," he said as he scarfed down another bite of whatever it was he was eating, as he could not be bothered to check to see what it was, though it tasted like bacon. He concluded that it must be bacon. As Ivan finished, Esmeralda was standing to take his plate. "That was quick," she said cheerfully. "Seconds?" Ivan shook his head. "No, thank you," he said, turning from his chair to run upstairs to his room. "And the cube?" "Well, hold up," said James, laughing. "What's the hurry?" "We have something important to tell you," added Esmeralda. Ivan turned to face them, impatient. "Yeah, what is it?" James and Esmeralda looked at each other, and naturally, Esmeralda spoke first because James was giving her a look to do so. "We're getting our vows renewed, sweetheart," she told Ivan. "Next Sunday at the local church." Ivan gave her a look of surprise. "But we don't go to church, Mom," he said. "Well, we are this Sunday," she said excitedly. "Okay," said Ivan, somewhat coldly. "That's nice. Can I go upstairs now?" James laughed. "Aren't you going to congratulate us? Didn't you already do that once, though?" Ivan said, raising an eyebrow. "Yes," James chuckled, "but it's a renewal. It will make our marriage bond stronger." "Will it?" said Ivan. Esmeralda rolled her eyes. "Of course it will." "Well, that's great," said Ivan, trying to act impressed. "Now, can I—" he started to say, but James interrupted him. "You'll need to wear a suit," he said, "so we'll be going to the store today." Ivan slumped his shoulders and thought to himself, "No," but accepted this fate as inevitable. Perhaps he was being too dramatic about the situation. It was only a few minutes before they were in the car and off to the store. It was black and sleek, the car, with a white shine to it, a reflection from the cloudy sky overhead. Someone must have buffed it recently, or perhaps the material that covered its plastic body was just that expensive. Ivan, as a 10-year-old, thought of the car in this way, but with a measurable amount of disinterest, instead opting to think of the cube which he'd left in his room. It was too big for a 10-year-old to carry out in public without being seen. He could have put it in his backpack, but then he would have had to explain why he had on a backpack, which his father would surely have asked him about. Perhaps he should have attempted it anyway, but he decided against it. The drive to the store, which was really a large market outside and quite impressive, the architecture of the buildings of which was something akin to what one would see at a bazaar. Ivan was not sure that this had been the intent when whoever built these structures had built them, and he did not know how old they really were, but he did wonder why they looked so grand. He supposed that a lot of things in his large city, the city of Taverley, of a home, were grand, though not everything, of course. The cube, however, superseded all of this architectural beauty, the shops, the stalls, where they sold toys and food and such, but even as a 10-year-old boy, he expected that nothing would seem as breathtaking as the 10-year-old girl who he quickly met. Ivan's father said to him, "This is George and his daughter, Sarah. She's about your age." Ivan said hello to George, who was a very tall and well-built man, towering over Ivan and his father in a way that was actually quite intimidating. And when George replied, he gave a gruff hello of indifferent melancholy. If there was such a thing, that is, then he perfectly encapsulated it, as that man cared about nothing but himself. That much was plain to Ivan even when he first met the man in this moment now. His daughter, however, was quiet, and she seemed quite nice to Ivan. "Hello," Ivan said first, as he was a confident young man. "I'm Ivan." Sarah hesitated, but replied, "I'm Sarah." Ivan, dumbly and at 10 years old, felt that he was in love. though he probably could not have expressed it in that way, and the cube seemed like some sort of distant memory all of the sudden, but she and her father were gone as quickly as they had come, and Ivan and his father were off to find a suit, somewhere in the bazaar market, that is, and quickly the cube came back to mind. Ivan could not wait to get home to explore it, to see what it really could do. What could it show him? What powers did it contain within itself? Ivan wanted to know, and he would find out, and perhaps, too, he would find his parents, his real parents. He prayed that he would. The market was very lively, and the shop, which was in one of the stores within the buildings, white with large columns on the outside and quaint and somewhat homey on the inside, reminiscent perhaps of a town much smaller than the city they were in, was quite crowded. Fortunately, Ivan's father did not like shopping as much as the next man did, and perhaps even less than Ivan did. And so they were quickly done. Ivan's suit was picked out. He tried it on, and somehow it fit perfectly, so they bought it and left. On the way home, Ivan noted that his father was acting impatiently for some reason, but he thought nothing of it and nodded off to sleep. When he awoke, he was home and in his bed. His father must have carried him up to his room. For a moment he was calm and awake in the sort of way that one is awake when one finally awakes from a deep slumber, but suddenly he remembered. "The cube," he said, eyes widening. He quickly looked beneath his bed and, reaching to grab, discovered that nothing was there. He took a look. It was gone.